few videos back, I started the Hot Wheels 1970 Tune-Up Tower series with a race. I put a black Corvette Stingray up against a red Custom Corvette. The Stingray won hands down, and the Custom Corvette couldn't even run the distance of the track. Today we're going to work on the old Redline Vette. Our track is the 1969 Hot Wheels Double Dare Race Action Set. And the result is pretty much the same. The Stingray wins, meanwhile the Custom Corvette crashes in the loop and it's on its roof needing a little help. And that help comes in the form of a tow truck. We're going to haul this Vette over to the tune-up tower and get it serviced. The merger bar will divert the tow truck into the tower. We'll unhook the Corvette and use the truck to push the car back in. When the elevator comes down, the safety bar goes up, and now the Corvette can go right in. With the car going up, the tow truck has lots of room to park on the first floor. There's a molded hoist on the top floor, and I'm going to park the Corvette right on top of it. Next, I'll bring up the Stingray. I'll put it on the treadmill and show you what a nice running car looks like. As you can see, the wheels spin freely, so this car has top speed and there's no drift. That's about as good as it gets. Now I'll park the Stingray on the second floor. Next, I'll put the Custom Corvette on the treadmill and just see what it looks like. Wheel speed is only good, and there's definitely a lot of drift to the left. Because the hoist is molded into the top of the floor, I'm going to use a 1/2-inch diameter piece of vinyl plastic tubing to simulate a working hoist and get this car lifted up so we can work on the wheels. A check of the suspension shows the rear wheels holds its position nicely, but the front wheels collapse into the fender. Of course, this causes trouble in the loop. The back wheel stays in place, but the front wheel hits the fender and stops rolling. Here's another way to check it. A little bounce test reveals nice action in the back, but no bounce in the front. The problem is obvious when you look at the undercarriage. The torsion bar wires are not in their proper position. Here's what the early torsion bar suspension looks like. This Ford J car has been drilled apart. You can see the wires, and there are two areas that hold the metal wire in position, and that's what's become unhooked on the Vette. That means the front wheels are floating inside of the car. Rather than drill the Corvette apart to get at the front suspension, I'm going to take one of my wife's small crochet hooks. Maybe I can pull the wire back into place. It probably took me 10 or 12 minutes to get the suspension wires where they belong. And you can see they look good right here. Now if we do the bounce test again, the back works fine. The front? Yeah, it has more bounce, but it's not quite right. The reason is the car is riding on 3 wheels at this point. The left front tire is really bent down, so that makes the car a bit unstable. On the dynamometer, here's what we now have. Wheel speed is a lot better, and now we're drifting the other way. Before fixing anything, let's do a race. From the second floor, we'll head to the starting gate. The Stingray is in lane 2 again, and the Custom Corvette gets lane 1. Yeah, that's better. The Stingray is still much faster, and the red line just made it to the end of the track. Back to the second floor. Park the Stingray. And head to the elevator with the Custom Corvette. For further work, it's time for the tune-up wrench. These tend to get lost, so they're somewhat rare and expensive. You can get nice reproductions from companies like Brightvision. Three sets carried the tune-up wrench. The instructions on how to use the wrench are pretty basic. If wheels need adjustment, use wheel wrench. Slide slot in wheel over axle, gently straighten axle. We're going to need to do a little more than that. First, use the narrow part of the wrench to pry between the body and the black part of the tire. Avoid the white plastic bearing. A little bit of toggling will work the wheel off. It's coming. Same for the back. There's another way to do this. John Douglas at theredlineshop.com has his own version of the wrench. There's an extra slot on the other end for wheel removal. What he does is slide the tool into the wheel well and rock back and forth. Then the wheel is wiggled off. It works fairly well. So what's the purpose of the eyelet on the original wrench? At recovertoy.com they speculate that the eyelet would accommodate a string or ribbon. Then you wear the tool around your neck so you can repair cars frequently as they blow through superchargers. With all the wheels off, it's time for new tires. I'll send a Dodge Ram truck on a parts run. Here at the store, they carry a nice selection of wheels. and Brightvision is a great source for beautifully done tires. This is a package of medium-size Hong Kong style wheels. Okay, back to the tower. Bring down the elevator, move in the truck, and up we go. Alright, now it's time to clean the axles on the car. Using a cotton swab, I'll wipe the wires and the bearings clean of dust, dirt, and debris. Now I'll use the wrench to start straightening the axles. It's going to be difficult on this left front one, but I'll give it a try. It's still bent down. I'll take a break and go to the back wheels. That's not bad. Back to the front left. There are two bends in the axle, one at the chassis level and one at the white bearing. I've come to the conclusion that I can't get this axle straight with just a tune-up wrench. I need more room to work, so I'll slide the wire off its holder and push the axle further out. Now I can use some fine needle nose pliers and take care of that first bend at the chassis level. Then hook the torsion bar back in place. The first part of the axle is nice and straight, but the second part now has a nasty bend upwards. The toothpick is stabilizing the suspension in place, while I use the tune-up wrench again, just above the bearing level. I'm pulling down to try and get the axle straight. This is hard. With persistence, the wire gets straighter and straighter. Alright, that's close. In the end, I'm reasonably happy that the axles are straight, both front and back. And the torsion bar wire is in place. Looks good. That means it's almost time to put on the tires. And the pickup truck will take the old ones out for recycling. But before we go on, this Tune-up tips for top speed performance statement was found on nearly every instruction sheet Mattel produced during the Redline era. In capital letters it says, "Do not oil wheels and axles." The trouble is, any original factory oil is long gone. I think it's time for a little fresh lube, courtesy of my local hobby shop. This oil is safe for plastic. So I'll put 1 drop on each axle. Now give each bearing a little spin. And use a tissue to daub up any excess oil. Too much oil will actually slow the car down, so you want just a thin coat. Now I'll install the wheels. Grab the tune-up wrench, hook it on the axle on the inside of the bearing. Put the wheel on the other side of the bearing and squeeze it on using the tune-up wrench to stabilize the bearing. Otherwise, you might bend the axle again. There you go. All 4 wheels are back on. They're clean, lubed, and straight. Let's check this out on the Dynamometer. Speed is top-notch. Drift? Not bad. That means it's time for another race. The Custom Corvette had the lead going into the loop, but lost it coming out. I think the front wheels are rubbing against the front lip of the fenders, and this is slowing the car down. Redline Custom Corvettes are often found with medium-sized tires all around, but some early models had small tires up front. So I'm going to switch to small front tires to make sure that I've got lots of wheel well clearance for the Corvette. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, there you go. The Redline Custom Corvette restored to some of its former glory, racing again and winning. So there you have it. Working on the 1968 Custom Corvette with the 1970 tune-up tower, making Hot Wheels still fast, still fun.